What is up, Tiger fans? Welcome back to the channel. The time has finally come. In this video, I'm going to be previewing Clemson's round of 64 NCAA tournament matchup versus Rutgers. So I'm going to be breaking down a couple different aspects of the game, and then at the end of the video, I will have my final prediction. So we're going to get right into this thing. But before we do, be sure to subscribe if you're new around here. A bunch of Clemson content. Hopefully, a lot of basketball content soon. Hopefully, we can win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. But, we're trying to run out some Clemson content over here. Hopefully, I have some content to make that is good content. Some of the content recently has not been good for the Tigers. But hopefully, we can get back on that track. And hopefully, we can beat Rutgers. You have to see at the end of the video who I have winning this game. But we're going to get right into this thing. So first thing we are looking at is some key players on each team. So these aren't necessarily the highest scorers. These aren't necessarily the all-conference selections, but these are guys who I see as key players. So for Rutgers, you have Ron Harper Jr. He is the leading scorer for Rutgers, and he's been an amazing player this year. I think he's kind of underrated and underappreciated, but he has been a great player, and I think he's going to continue to play good basketball into the tournament. But Clemson has some good guards, so hopefully we can at least slow down Ron Harper a little bit. And Miles Johnson in at the center position. I believe he is 6'11", so he's not insanely tall, but he is significantly taller than Amir Sims. And Amir Sims playing the center position. That's just how we have to do this because we don't have a true center. So Miles Johnson, his stats don't jump off the page and really make you say wow, but he's a very solid player and an important player on a team that has a bunch of good guards. So having Miles Johnson on a team like this is very helpful, and he really helps out Rutgers. He really makes this Rutgers team good. Jacob Young is another good guard. Jacob Young, he and Geo Baker they're each double-digit scorers, and they're all around solid players. So Ron Harper, Jacob Young, and Geo Baker are all just very solid players. Guys that Rutgers is very happy and very lucky to have in the backcourt. And then for Clemson's key players, we have the leader, senior leader, leading scorer, leading rebounder, leading passer, leading in anything else that you could possibly imagine. We have Amir Sims. So Sims, of course, plays the center position. He's only 6'8", but this team really doesn't have any height, so Amir Sims does play the center position, but he does a pretty good job with it. He's really dominant in the paint. If we can just get the ball to him, Miles Johnson and Amir Sims is going to be a really fun matchup to watch down low in the paint. And then we have some guards, Alamir Dawes, Nick Honor. They're each excellent shooters. And then we have Clyde Trapp, who's out there for defense, and he's a good slasher too. But he doesn't do a lot on the offensive end, but he's a great defender, and we're going to need him because Rutgers, as I mentioned earlier, they have some very good guards that we are going to have to defend. So I think Clyde Trapp could be a very, very important player in this game. And then Alamir Dawes and Nick Honor, they just have to do what they have to do on the defensive end, but more importantly, on the offensive end, they have to perform like we know that they're capable of performing. But sometimes both of them can be a little inconsistent. So, they have to play some of their best basketball to win this game because Rutgers has a lot of good guards on their roster. And we're going to need some good basketball from our key players. So, Alamir Dawes, Nick Honor, they've got to come out, they've got to score. And then Clyde Trapp's just got to play defense. And hopefully we don't need him on the offensive side. But I'm really excited to see the Miles Johnson versus Amir Sims matchup inside because I believe that Miles Johnson, I believe he has 3 inches of height on Amir Sims. But Sims is a big guy. He's a dominant player on the inside. So we can just kick the ball into Amir Sims and let him do his thing. He's very creative in the post. So he's very I'm trying to think of a word. Flexible is the best thing that I can come up with, but that's nothing near what I'm trying to say. He's very shifty in the post. He can make defenders miss. He's got some good fakes. He just has a bunch of very good moves in the post, and he's a very good scorer in there. But I feel like he doesn't get the ball enough down there. So we definitely need to work the ball to Amir Sims in the post and see if we can get him involved early and often But against Miles Johnson, he's going to have a very tough job because Miles Johnson, of course, having the height on Amir, it's going to be kind of tough. But that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup to watch. And then Clyde Trapp on defense might be the second most important Tiger in this game because we're going to need him for defense because Rutgers has a pretty good offense. So now we're going to look at some key stats for the teams. So Rutgers averages exactly 70 points per game. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. They have a good offense, and we need Clyde Trapp to step up to play some good defense because they have some good players on their team. They're not an amazing shooting team, but they have a bunch of good guards, and Clyde Trapp can counter that easily on the defensive side. And the Tigers, they only score 65 points per game. Offense is not our thing. In fact, we are a below-average offensive team. It's just not that good. So we just have to have our top players involved early and often. Sometimes we can have some guys on the roster, namely Nick Honor and Alamir Dawes, who are very, very good shooters, very, very good scorers, but they're just too inconsistent. And I think that's the main problem with the Tigers is we just have our top guys are just too inconsistent. Amir Sims, he can be a little sloppy at times. He can turn over the ball maybe a little bit more than you would want. But the defense is really where we win. 62 points per game allowed. Rutgers allows 68, so we should be able to score on their defense some. And overall, we have a great defense. So hopefully we can counter their strong offense with some good defense of our own. We have some good defenders coming off the bench, and we have good defenders as starters. So I'd say overall it's a very good mix of defense for the Tigers. And I haven't watched a lot of Rutgers this year. But they're a very good scoring team. As you can see, they average 70 points per game. So I trust in our defense. Our defense can be also a little inconsistent at times. But I do expect Brad Brownell to come out there and just do his job as a coach and counter Rutgers' offense. Rebounding, we're not very good in rebounding. I've talked about the height disadvantage that we have against Rutgers and the height disadvantage that we have against a lot of teams. And that hurts us in rebounding. As you can see, we're almost 3 rebounds per game behind what Rutgers gets. And this could be a big factor. Rutgers, they could get a lot of second chance points off of offensive rebounds by Miles Johnson. And I'm actually really worried about that. Miles Johnson just getting second chance points. But hopefully Amir Sims, he's really just the guy that mainly plays inside. We have PJ Hall, of course, coming off the bench. But that's really it. We don't have a bunch of anybody that plays center. So Amir Sims, PJ Hall, they're going to have to do everything that they possibly can to fight for rebounds because every single one of them against Rutgers is going to be very important. I think this is going to be a very close game. You see the three-point shooting percentages. Clemson, we're not a good three-point shooting team, but we are significantly better than Rutgers. So if we can maybe force Rutgers to force up some shots on the perimeter, but that means that Amir Sims is going to have to handle Miles Johnson inside. I think that maybe we can slow down Rutgers' offense. I think we have to make them force shots on the perimeter, which is normally what we're good at. And then steals, Rutgers gets a lot of steals. Of course, with all the guards out there, guards are typically good for getting steals, much better than centers. So, that is definitely something that Rutgers has to benefit them. So we just have to be careful with the ball. I talked earlier about how Amir Sims can sometimes get sloppy and turn the ball over when it's not ideal, and we have to avoid that against Rutgers because even though this defense overall doesn't look super good, they can be pretty good at times. They can force a lot of turnovers. So I think this is going to be a super good game, and I'm really on the fence about this one. I think this game could go either way. Of course, our defense against Rutgers' offense is going to be super, super interesting, but we are here with my final prediction for the Clemson versus Rutgers matchup. So after everything I've talked about, I have come up with a decision. Now, this was a very tough pick to make. I feel like both teams could win this game. Of course, Rutgers, they have all those guards out there, and then they have Miles Johnson on the inside. This is probably your ideal college lineup. Now, in NBA, this lineup would not work, just with all the height and the guards. But I think this is your ideal college lineup. And it's going against a team in Clemson that, we're a good defensive team. And this is a kind of a unique lineup that Rutgers has. So Brad Brownell, he's going to have to make some adjustments. I imagine that the game probably gets a little ugly on the defensive side for the Tigers early on, but I trust in Brad Brownell. Being the defensive coach that he is, he's not a great offensive coach, but being the defensive coach that he is, I expect that he'll make some adjustments. We'll have our senior leaders, Clyde Trapp and Amir Sims, hopefully step up and lead the charge. And with all of that being said, I think the big thing for the Tigers is just knocking down shots. Every time we play, it's really just a guessing game. Which game are we going to be good on offense? Which game are we going to hit threes? And which game are we not? We have to become more consistent, but with this team that we have right now, it's just a guessing game, so we kind of have to hope that we get a good night. But with this defense, I think the defense and Brad Brownell's defensive coaching will certainly keep the Tigers in this game, and the senior leadership on both teams I think will be super important. But my final prediction is a 64-61 victory for the Clemson Tigers. I do think that our defense is going to win the game for us. As you can see, not super high scoring. This game could easily be under 60 for each side, but I think Nick Honor, Alamir Dawes will hit just enough shots to win the game for the Tigers, and then Amir Sims inside, just with the crafty finisher that he is. I think he'll be able to make enough plays. I think Miles Johnson is going to have a good game inside on the defensive end and slow Amir down. But Amir is a very shifty, very crafty player in the post, in the low block. So I do expect him to get some points. And then I think this is just all on the guards, just scoring around, over, under, however you need to score against Rutgers. But I think our guards are really going to have a good game against this Rutgers defense. So I have, of course, with the matchup that he has to face, Amir Sims is going to be facing a very tough task, but I have him as Clemson's top player in the game. And I have Ron Harper Jr., Rutgers' their top scorer. I have him as player of the game for Rutgers. This could easily go to Miles Johnson, but Miles Johnson, I think that Amir Sims is going to score on him some, and I think Ron Harper is going to have a good game on the offensive side because Clyde Trapp, he's by far our best defensive guard, and he can't guard all of Rutgers' guys on the perimeter and just, around with all the guards that they have. So Clyde Trapp, whoever we set him on, I think the other is going to have some solid games just because the other guards aren't as good as defenders as Clyde Trapp. But that is all I have for this video, so be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments who you think will win this matchup between Clemson and Rutgers. I want to hear you guys. Predictions. I'm not going to be offended if you pick Rutgers, by the way. I'm really on the fence about this one. I don't actually remember who I picked in my official bracket. Of course, that was a day or two ago, so I guess technically my pick could have changed, but I do believe I picked the Tigers in my bracket. But let me know in the comments who you think will win this game. This is at 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock Eastern Time, I believe, on Friday nights. We have this game coming up probably about a day after this is published, about 24 hours after this video is published. But that's all I got, so subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and go subscribe to my main channel and my live streaming channel. If you're not already subscribed to either of those, they will both be linked in the description, as they always are, and I will see you guys next time. Go Tigers!